and becomes law, the American people could potentially be on the hook for absolutely massive amounts of losses. And this is not the first time these big banks have tried to pull off this kind of coup. As Michael Krieger of Liberty Blitzkrieg has detailed, bank lobbyists tried this very same thing last year. And also, including in this new funding bill, you have to know this, and this is a WND exclusive, that this spending bill lets feds eavesdrop on Americans. Now, we know we've been doing that for a long time, but listen to this. A legal challenge to the National Security Agency's Spy on Americans program pending in the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. got some unexpected input from Congress this week when members approved a new intelligence apparatus funding plan for 2015. And one of the congressmen let it slip into the bill. For the first time ever, this was a congressional authority for the acquisition, retention, and dissemination of Americans' private communications. Larry Klayman of Freedom Watch, the attorney who wanted determination from a judge that the NSA program likely is unconstitutional, he noticed immediately. He asked the appeals court to consider the new information in his deliberations. The Intelligence Reauthorization Act of 2015 is now headed to the president for a signature. WN reported last-minute attempt by Justin Amish, a Republican from Michigan, to defeat it because of the authorization for the government to access private communications without a warrant and without court order. Amish called it one of the most egregious sanctions of law I've encountered during my time as a representative. He said the looming law grants the executive branch virtually unlimited access to the communications of every American. It was a late amendment to the funding bill that authorizes the acquisition, retention, and dissemination of private communications that Amish objected to. Now, Klayman said in his submission to the appeals court, this new bill provides, according to Congressman Amish, the first statutory authority for the acquisition, retention, and dissemination of all U.S. persons' private communications obtained with or without legal process such as court order or subpoena. He said that the congressional plan for this first time statutory authorizes spying on U.S. citizens without any legal process at all. Get this full story at wdeanshook.com. wdeanshook.com. Now, I saved the best for last because this is really something that we need to know and that we need to understand. You know, in Matthew 24, verse 9, it says, "In the latter days they shall deliver you up to be afflicted. They shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." Well, according to Susan Martinek, Western media silence on Christian persecution is deafening. Last week, international media groups reported that a Somalian terrorist group had crossed the border to slaughter Christians working at a Kenyan mining camp. Well, apparently, the terrorists separated the miners into groups of Muslims and Christians. If Christians couldn't quote passages from the Quran, they were immediately shot or beheaded. Reuters has documented the event with images of rows of men lying face down in their own blood. The reports left no doubt this atrocity was part of an ongoing war against Christians in the Middle East and parts of Africa. But a Canadian newscast failed to adequately convey the rather essential facts, saying the terrorists killed non-Muslim miners. This deliberately left the impression that religious beliefs had little to do with this particular event. And this isn't an isolated incident. Over the past decade, many Christian media groups have attempted to keep religion from being a salient point of discussion about terrorism. As a result, most North Americans are largely unaware of this genocide against Christians in conflict zones around the world. Some of the most barbaric atrocities are being committed against Christians in Iraq. Once numbering 1.5 million, only a handful of Christians are left, and most of them are in hiding. They know it's only a matter of time before they have to face ISIS. This bloodthirsty terrorist group is driven by the desire to create a caliphate, an Islamic state, all the way across the Middle East. ISIS somehow believes it can establish a legitimate state, even though it ignores all laws, rules, and principles that govern a legitimate state. It doesn't follow the laws of the Geneva Convention when it takes prisoners. There's no procedures that guide its demands for Christians to convert to Islam on the spot, pay a special tax, or face a horrific death. As a result, ISIS demands routinely involve rape, killings, beheadings, the slitting of throats, and arbitrary methods of torture. Houses are burned down. As demonstrated by one particularly graphic video on the internet, those who convert to Islam are often killed anyway. Over the past year, news agencies have delicately reported that ISIS has taken over several traditional communities in Iraq, forcing hundreds of thousands to leave their homes and belongings or face certain death. But beyond covering their new status as refugees, the North American media has given few details about the horrors that they have to face. In contrast, many international media group agencies have covered and therefore documented the atrocities that have been inflicted on these Christians. This week, several reports emerged from church organizers to demonstrate a new kind of evil that's perpetuated by ISIS. After all, once the lopping off of heads becomes commonplace, you have to go one step further to create sufficient levels of terror. So now, ISIS is beheading children. They're splitting them in half. They're crucifying them. They're putting their heads on sticks in the local park. And all of this to ensure that their parents understand the new rules. Christianity will not be tolerated. So where are the humanitarian outcries from the West, or from the governments, or churches, or the UN? The Pope has spoken out, so has Prince Charles, and he's the defender of the faith who almost never defends the faith. But what can we do? Perhaps the words of Martin Luther King Jr. are the most appropriate way to guide our thinking. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. We can be silent no more. Matthew 24:9. In the latter days they shall deliver you up to be afflicted. They shall kill you. You shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately.
Tell us,
They said,
when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?
You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. But then there will be great distress, unequal from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equal again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. When you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. They knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Now keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come.
Hi folks, have you noticed the federal government and police departments are using drones for everything? Drones are expensive. They're hard to fly. It can take up to a week just to learn to make a drone hover. Not anymore. There's a new generation of drones that are not only affordable but very easy to fly. Now you can have your own personal drone, anything from a micro mini that'll fit in the palm of your hand, right up to a full-scale model, 10 inches in diameter like the model I have, the V949 Pro. Comes with a 6-axis 4-rotor blade and an HD 2.4 camera mounted on the bottom. These drones are made of a space-age polymer. They're durable, and don't worry about crashing your drone. Replacement blades for this drone from the website are only $1.80 for a pack of 4. That's right, I said $1.80 for a pack of 4 replacement blades. You can also get an extra long life battery. This battery allows you up to a half hour of fly time with a maximum speed of 40 miles an hour. Have your own personal drone, and you can get all of this for under $70. If you go to the website, wdeanshook.com, and click on the banner on the webpage, you can get from 7 to 22% off your personal drone. It's shipped as a kit. You can be up and flying your own personal drone with an HD camera within a half hour. Come to the webpage, wdeanshook.com. Click on that banner and get your discount today. wdeanshook.com. And as usual, when the dust settles and the smoke clears, I'll be back with another episode of Truth in the News. And don't forget to visit our sponsors at wdeanshook.com. My email is contact@wdeanshook.com. Twitter is wdeanshook. Facebook is wdeanshook. Come and join us. Be in on the discussion. Be a part of the program. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.
You can get these full stories and more at wdeanshook.com. That's wdeanshook.com.